So now we're going to start with 3 sets, okay? So 3 Venn diagrams. I showed you how to read them. Hopefully you know now how to get the information and put it in the right place. That's the most important part here. So the new pi, which I asked you to add to your study sheet, is the one that involves 3 sets. And notice how we come up with the union, because remember, the union does not include the outliers ever, right? When we do this formula. So we had n of a, okay? Let me try to have all of this in here. So we add up all 3 sets. So let's forget about the latter part of this formula. We add up everything that's in the 3 sets. We add this one, and then this one. And you're double counting a bunch of times when you do that. Therefore, we need to take away all 3 intersections. So I'm going to give this a color. So A and C, where is it? It's right here. We take that one away. We subtract A and C, that intersection right there. We subtract B and C. B and C is this intersection right there. Okay? And we also subtract A and B. So all 3 intersections are taken off. And then last but not least, we have to add, this is what I call the middle. This is the heart or middle. Okay? Because we take it away, we're taking all of those sections away, we're basically left without the center, so that's why we have to add it at the end. So this is pi for 3 sets, okay? And I'll just leave it like that for now. We're going to use it as needed. Just a big tip here. You're not always going to need to use the formula. 80% of the time, I would say, on the provincial exam, as long as when you read, you put the numbers in the right place, you'll find out you can just like do some math and figure out the rest, okay? But pi is sometimes necessary, right? Especially if the middle is not provided. So let's go and look at some examples here that you may encounter on page 24. I just did this to try to highlight some of them, but I can't do them all, okay? So the one that is your best friend is where the middle is given. You just have to move out and fill out the rest. So we do know this number, and we're just going to move out and fill out all of the rest. Okay? Then we have the scenarios where the middle is unknown. Okay? Middle is unknown. You got to use pi for that one. Okay? If the middle is not given to you, you got to use that equation, a formula. I'm going to use it all the time if this is unknown. So this part is unknown. Okay. The next part is this one right here. All of these middle is unknown, but here you have no intersections are given. Okay, so no intersections are given. That's what I want to highlight here. So pay attention to this part. So you will read the question. This is going to be unknown, but they're going to tell you what that is, just that right there. Okay, and so what is the intersection? If this is 7 and this is x, then that intersection is 7 plus x. Okay, this intersection is 7 plus x. And we put that outside. So that adds a level of difficulty to it. I'm going to use a highlighter for this part and just let you know that they give you these sections here. That's what makes this case a bit different, but you know what? If you're just careful, you'll still be able to do it. I want to just make one arrow to this to this part. So let's say you wanted to, how do you know that 5 goes in there specifically? I'm just going to go out here and say, is in B and C, but not what? But not A. If it says B and C, but not A, then it has to go in there. Okay. You can also say is in B and C only. That's another way to refer to that section right there. So the emphasis on the only but not A, right? If you have something like that, you know, okay, this is not quite the intersection. This is part of the intersection, but it's just in this region right here. So do not put that out here. The number 5, don't put it out here. It's 5 plus X, and we're going to figure out X down the road. Scratch, scratch, right? And then the last case here, I'll just tell you, still the middle is unknown, but you have a bit of a mix here where you have these sections like that, just like that, okay? So we have to refer to the intersection as 5 plus X here, this intersection between B and C. And same here, 6 plus X to refer to this intersection. But watch this, 7. Wait a minute, like this one doesn't have anything in there. It's just straight out there. Yeah, the question will say, 7 people like A and B, applied and biology. Okay, so this 7 is actually referring to this whole thing here is 7. So we're going to have to be careful with that. So let's dive in now and do word problems. This is just for you. This is probably more helpful later. After we've done a bunch, you'll look at this and be like, now I know what you were talking about. Okay? So let's see here how this goes. I know you can do it. Totally. You are smart. That's why you survived grade 11, right? Okay. Given the middle piece, and then work your way out. So this is the classic, the middle is unknown. This is on page 25. Rachel surveyed grade 12 students, how they communicated with friends. A lot of them are very cheesy. I apologize. I'm going to try to make them better. But we've got 66% called on a cell phone, 76 texted, 34 used a social networking site. So these are your 3 sets basically. So N of C is 66%. N of T is 76%. N of S, we're going to give the letter S to social networking site. That's 34%. Question, if we're talking percentage, what's the universal? If it's percentage, 100. So if it's percentage, the question doesn't have to give you universal. So note percentages, right? That means that N of U is immediately 100%. So that's one of those where you don't have to even guess. Another thing, do you think these overlap? You think they're joined? Let's check. If you add 66 and 76, you're already way over 100%, right? So you know there has to be students, grade 12 students, that have more than one thing, right? So there is overlap. 56% called on a cell phone and texted, okay? So if you want C and T, that's going to be 56%. That's the intersection. 18% use cell phone and social networking sites. So cell phone and social networking, 18%. 19 texted and used a social networking site. So text and S is 19%. That's you. 12 used all 3. What is this? That's the center. That's the heart. The one that used all 3 of them. This is it doesn't matter which order. I'm going to take the order that they were presented to me. So C, T, and S is 12%. This is the middle. If you have the middle, I would say it's easier. Like they are actually a lot easier to fill in. Draw a Venn diagram, then answer the following. Let's do the Venn diagram. I'm going to zoom out a little bit so that everything stays on there. So I start like this. I start with a nice circle there, there, and there. And I'm going to go C, T, S. I'll do the box a little later. So this is 66%. T is 76. S is 34. Hope you can see that. Now that we have those numbers, I'm gonna zoom in a little bit more. So let's do the box. My universal is 100%. What else do we know? We know that C and T is 56, the intersection. C and T is right here. So this intersection, we know, contains 34%. So make sure you don't put that in here. The intersection, always outside. Okay, 34 is in there. The intersection between C and T, oh, sorry, I made a mistake, right? It's 56. Sorry, guys, it's 56 here. The intersection between C and S, that's between these two sets. So this region right here, okay, that is 18. 19 are between T and S, so that's outside here. So that's 19%. And I know the intersection. The intersection, like the middle, which is 12%. That actually gets to, you get to put that in here. And now we're going to zoom in and fill in the rest. I'm going to use a red pen for everything else that so pencil usually what is given to me, and then I use a different color for things that I solve for, that it, and you, if you look at it again, it will help you out. So, I would have a calculator just to make sure, because it's so annoying if you're off even by one, everything kind of goes down the drain. So to fill out this section right here, look up here, right? This section, I will go 56 minus 12. Okay? That gives you 44. And you should be able to check, hey, 12 and 44, does that add up to 56? It does, right? Like these two should add up to that 56. Let's go over to this little pedal here. So this would be 19 minus 12, that's 7%. Okay? Forgot the percent for the 44. And then you go over to this side, 18 minus 12, this is 6. So now you've filled in a bit more. You went all around. Now, let's go over and figure out this region right here. That'd be like C only, basically. You would go 60, I'm going to show my work here, 66 minus, you take away these three numbers. So minus 44, minus 12, minus 6. Okay, 66 minus 44, minus 12, minus 6. That's 4%. Okay. Then let's go to this one right here to figure out what goes in here only. You know that all of this is 34. So you go 34. Remember, 34 belongs to this circle, S only. So 34 minus 6, minus 12, minus 7, take away these three, that gives you 9%. Okay. So you have that filled in. And how do you check? You better be able to add up the four numbers here and get 34, right? Now you go over to this section. So we're going to go 76 minus, so again, you're only looking at t right now, minus 44, minus 12, minus 7. Okay, so you take away these three. And you end up with 13%. Okay? So that's how you fill that in. But we're not going to forget what? The outliers, right? There could be outliers. So I'm going to check how much does this add up to right now. So you grab your calculator. I'm going to go 66, cover up all of C right now, and then plus 13, plus 7, plus 9. Like I'm adding up these three numbers here. I have 95% at this point. Okay. So that I know this is 5% out here. So I'm going to show the work here. I went 66 plus 13 plus 7 plus 9. That gave me 95%. So 100, the universal, minus everything that's in those sets is 5%. And that's how I came up with the outliers. Okay. So this would be considered, if you want full marks, make sure you don't forget the outliers. Unless they tell you there are no outliers. Unless this question had said everybody has at least one of them, then you don't have outliers. Okay. Now let's answer based on what the Venn diagram looks like for us. So I will base my marking on your Venn diagram. Okay. So you got to be consistent. A, what percent of students use at least one of the three forms of communication? This is asking for the union of all. Okay. So it's asking for C union T union S. And we know that it is what? The easiest way is to go 100 minus the outliers. We know that if we add up all of this, it's 95%. Okay? That's 95% of students. Okay? What percent of students texted and used social networking site but did not use a cell phone? I would like to do that further down here. I need a bit more space. I'm going to answer B over here. B, just under my Venn diagram. It's asking for this. I don't need you to know this notation, but it's T and S, but not a cell phone. Where would that be? Let's go look at our diagram. T and S, the intersection is here. That would be all of this. It would be 19%. But it doesn't want cell phone. It just wants this. It just wants the 7. That is the region this is referring to. Okay? So we go 7% of students. I think this one is probably worth highlighting. There. So if the wording is like that, so basically are in text and social networking only. That's another way to refer to this section right here. C. What percent of students used a cell phone and social networking site but did not text? Cell phone and social networking but did not text. What would that be? Cell and S, right? So C and S, but not, you don't want any texting, right? So it's just the 6%. 6% of students. I try to not have a double of a number, but sometimes you have a bunch of 4s, a bunch of 6s, and so forth. D. What does D asking? What percent of students only use the cell phone, only texted, or only use the social networking site? What would you say to that? It's the 4. They only use the cell phone, or only texted, or only use a social networking site. So it's the 4, the 13, and the 9. Okay? I don't have a notation for that. So I'm just going to show the numbers. I would appreciate if you did that on anything I give you. Show me the numbers you've added to come up with your answer. That will help me big time. And that is 1726. No. 26%, right? Yeah. There we go. Just making sure. E. What percent of students called on a cell phone or used a social networking site? Write this down. E. What would you say? What is it asking for notation-wise? Or. It's using or, and it's only involving 2 sets, guys. It's very common, actually. Cell phone or social networking site. CUS. Just cause. That'll be the answer. Why is that the answer? Just cause. CUS, what would we do there? You just involve those 2 sets, right? You just go C. It's kind of messy, I know, but it's basically the union of just those 2 sets. And I'm going to use a color here because it's pretty crazy here, right? The lines everywhere. So it's just C or S. I want that. I want everything that's in those 2 sets combined. So I'm going to show my work. I'm going to go 66. Like all of this is 66 already. 66 plus 7 plus 9. And the only way to become really good at this is to practice. Okay, 82% of students. I will give this a green here. Okay, 82% fit this category that are doing either one of them. Okay. All right. Is your head hurting already? I hear you. Okay. I'm going to ask you to try this right away. So go to page 26. These are the ones where the middle is given. Okay. So let's try at least one before I do the next example. Oh, the time is not going to allow me to do the next example. So I'm going to say to 27. 26 to 27 is your homework. And we're upping the intensity a little bit, so you can expect an AC on this as well, okay?